Well, all right.
And welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world famous As It Should Be Studios.
Woo!
As well as Crystal Durant.
Hi.
She's here in the world famous As It Should Be Studios.
Yes.
And also Tommy Von Voigt. Yeah.
He's here too.
In the world famous As It Should Be Studios.
Yeah.
Now, we have a whole... this is a new phase As It Should Be video. Yes, we're going to be bringing you...
It's As It Should Be Mach 2.
Yeah, or whatever. Well, it's just a new video of the style that we have not done yet. We're going to be discussing bands that we wish that we could be in, or that we would like to have been in. They don't have to exist now. It could be, it could be Johnny and the Moondogs from 1952. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Johnny and the Moondogs. Question mark and the Mysterians.
Whatever.
Johnny and the Moondog.
Actually, I would
Naming old
now that I
Ronnie
think
James
about it,
Dio
I would
bands.
like to be in Johnny and the Moondogs
Moondogs?
and continued on with them over time, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so we're each going to do our lists, and we're going to have a little discussion, and we're also going to discuss the bands we would not like to be in. So we got to have a love and a hate list, because this is as it should be.
This harkens back to where from the beginning, where we started with songs I love by bands I hate, and songs I hate by bands I love.
There is an element to that.
Yeah,
there is an element
yeah.
of that in these lists.
There is, yeah.
Very
A lot
much
of
so.
that. Yeah.
That's an astute.
I'm smart.
SMRT.
I went to
so
college.
smart.
SMRT.
Well, I am first up.
Yeah.
I'm first up.
Do it, Paul!
Go.
Now, we haven't really ranked these. We're just listing them. Although I am saving a particular one for last. We're doing 5. I didn't come up with 5. I texted these guys this morning. I said, you guys, as of right now, I don't have a 5th band. I couldn't. And the reason why I found this really, really difficult to do, because I found it difficult to find a really good angle that just worked as a broad stroke overall for everything.
Right.
I ended up having to approach it. Different ones are on the list with a different approach in mind. Because the thing is that when I was 15 or 25, I would have been like, oh, I want to be in all these bands. Yeah, I totally want to be in the Kinks. And then me now, I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with Ray Davies being a fucking asshole.
You out of your
fucking
mind?
Ray and Dave doing
Fighting
this,
all the
that. Like,
time?
no, and every band I thought of, I went there with it.
Yeah.
So I had to ease up and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to put a couple of bands on this list where it's just like, you know what? That's true with these bands, but I'm just going to go, fuck, it would be as fun as hell to play in that band, though.
You're gonna
Play
put
that
up
music
with bullshit
with
if
that
you need
band.
to.
Yeah, it would be so fun. So there's a couple bands that I got in there that way.
Now let me ask you something real quick. Would you have wanted to play guitar or drums?
Well, you probably list that.
Or
'Cause
sing.
For mine, I list what instrument.
You do?
Oh, see, now I didn't go that far. I just, in
didn't go that
fact,
far.
yeah, I'm definitely, I'm winging it hard on
I mean,
this.
default, I would be singing.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I'm not a musician. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is Fantasyland, so I guess I could choose. I mean, my whole thought, I was being too practical, be like, oh, well, because it depended on what they needed. But it's like, this is Fantasyland, so you can't really approach it that way. You kind of
No.
do have to.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say.
Okay.
Especially with some of the bands I listed. Now, the one that I'm saving for last, I am very specific, and I have, it's all very, very specific, and it all kind of means something. But for a lot of these, it's kind of, yeah. But for lack of anything else, I'm just going to, for number 5, I'm just going to default to Johnny and the Moondogs, because I would love to be in the fucking Beatles. I wasn't going to say the Beatles, but I mean, who the fuck wouldn't want to be a Beatle? Who wouldn't want to go through that and just experience that incredible ride from within those 4 people?
Yeah.
How amazing would that be?
We got a glimpse of it in the documentary to see what that's like.
At that point in time, though.
No, but I mean, but still, to watch Paul McCartney write a fucking song out of thin air, and with all this going on, it was still holy shit! I'm sitting here next to Ringo in this crazy green outfit playing the drums and
Yeah. But that's just that one moment in time. There are so many different periods where it would just, those guys were probably bouncing off the wall, having time of their lives, making help. They weren't bugging each other. They were just having a great old time. They were smoking pot,
goofy movie.
writing the best songs that anybody had ever fucking heard on pop radio in their lives at that point.
Yeah.
Being worshipped by everybody. They were gods.
Yeah.
There's this picture of them. There's a photo of them during the Sgt. Pepper era. They're in the park, walking down the street, with their mustaches, wearing capes. And I'm looking at that going, God, Just imagine being Pete Best looking at that.
No.
And think about where he was. He was in that fucking band, and now they're literally gods walking down the street in capes. You know what I mean? What the fuck?
They're literal musical superheroes.
Yeah.
That would be really, really hard to swallow.
And here I am painting houses.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, the Beatles, and you know, the thing about, another reason why why I didn't want to put the Beatles, other than the fact that it's so fucking obvious, is because the Beatles, nobody else should ever be in the Beatles, and myself very much included. It needs to be just those guys. Yeah. But if we're in Fantasyland, that would have been amazing to experience.
Well, see, that's actually where, for me, with doing these lists, where I stopped short of going full-on fantasy. And specifically the reason why I did not list the Beatles. Because obviously, of course, I'd want to be in the Beatles. But who in the fuck would I replace?
Well, that's the other thing about these bands. Do you replace somebody that's there, or are you an additional member?
Well, sometimes you could say you'd be an additional member if you feel like there's something you could add. Like, let's say you were a fucking dope keyboard player. I play keys, but I'm not like.
Let's say you were
fantastic.
Billy Preston.
If I was Billy Preston level on keys,
yeah,
right. I don't really keep my chops up on keys often enough. But if I was Billy Preston level, I could say I'm putting the Beatles on my list because it could be now the Beatles are a 5-piece and I'm the keyboard player.
Well, Billy Preston was damn near almost in,
and he almost was.
He was.
But like in terms of like the instruments that I do a decent job playing. I'm not replacing Paul McCartney on bass because I'm not fucking replacing Paul McCartney. I'm not replacing John Lennon or George Harrison. They both need to be in the band. And I've never been as good of a drummer as Ringo Starr. The man's a machine. So who the fuck do I replace?
What do you do? Yeah.
Do I move one of those guys to just vocals? Does Paul McCartney become a singer and piano player and I'm the bass player? I'm not as good of a bass player as Paul.
Yeah, that's what makes it so difficult because you have so many things to consider and then you have to kind of go, okay, well... But should I be looking at it that way? Should I maybe be
that's the way I did it. That's the way I did it.
Yeah.
I perhaps could have been more playful, but we'll get to mine. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, anyway, so all right. So next up is one of the bands that I initially wouldn't have put on the list because, like, I don't want to deal with that bullshit. But then when I decided to ease up, I thought, you know what? Experiencing this amazing chemistry on stage every fucking night for all those years would be absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, The Who. Yeah. I mean, initially it's like, I don't want to fucking deal with pretentious ass Pete Townsend and just all the politics behind being in that band. But you know what? I bet it was worth every damn second.
Are you kidding?
For what those guys... Because being in the audience is one thing, but being one of those fucking guys on stage experiencing that... I mean, I was... The band I was in, Persephone's Bees, I always thought of us as being like The Who in that we did not sound like The Who, and obviously we weren't as good as The Who, but I always thought we were like The Who in that the recordings that we had are like these pop records. But us live on stage was totally fucking rock show. And it was fucking kick-ass, and we just fucking tore the place down every time. And... So, in a way, I always felt like I knew what it felt like, but I don't, because the fucking Who. I mean, come on. You know? But I kind of felt like I was in a Who-like situation, so that was really fun. But, you know, obviously, one thing about being in the Who is that you would have long down periods. Yeah. A lot of downtime, because those guys would make an album and then fuck off for like 3 years. And we're talking in the 70s. So, that's the other side of it, too. And that's going to come into play with the next band I'm going to mention. It's like, it would be so much fun to be in that band, but there would be a lot of time off. You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I have a loose hair. I know I do. I just know it. All right. Well, let me go to my next one. My next one is one you're going to be shocked. You're going to be stunned. You'll be almost as shocked about this one as you were about the Beatles. Red Cross.
Oh, really?
Wow.
It was either going to be that or Sloan.
You don't say.
Well, spoiler alert, there's no Sloan on this list. But Red Cross.
Fuck yeah, Red Cross.
Well, the thing about Red Cross is that not only would it be so fun to be in the band, but that's a band that I could be in.
Yes, you could.
You know what I mean? Like, not only is it, you know, music that I can play and I can make, but these are accessible people.
You could easily be the third brother.
You're also around the same age as them. Like you,
a little bit. I'm
fit right in.
I'm about 3 years younger than Steve.
Oh,
who's the younger brother. ballpark. Like, so I could be the youngest brother.
You could.
You know.
Totally.
The short brother. That's the thing. That's the thing. I would look ridiculous in that band because those guys are basketball players.
Yeah.
You know, like seriously, like Jeff's like, oh hey Wilt, how's the air down there?
Where's the picture of? Oh yeah, okay, cool. So let's hold up that book. All right. So here we've got the two brothers, and one of them's holding a Warlock bass, and one of them's holding a Mockingbird. They're both Glitter Rock White. Now, Paul Bertolino, I happen to have a Glitter Rock White BC Rich bitch, so that completes the trifecta.
Oh.
You can join Red Cross. I'll lend it to you for the tour.
Yeah.
You're in, baby. You're in.
Well, now the thing is, that if I were ever to be in Red Cross, the only thing I think I really could do would be drums, because I'm a shit lead guitar player, and Steve McDonald is an absolutely fucking phenomenal bass player. So, and he's one of the brothers, so obviously he's not going to be replaced. Like, if you're going to be in Red Cross, you're not replacing a brother.
Either one of them, yeah.
Clearly. So drums would be probably what I would do, and the thing about Red Cross though is that you think the Who had downtime. Red Cross job, that is not steady work by any stretch of the imagination. But when you go out there, it's just like those guys just have a blast, and they just kick ass every time. To this day, you know. Yeah. And the thing about them is whenever I look back at all that stuff, I get really caught up in like how much I wish I was in LA at that time in that scene of people, because I have so much. Well, I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, FOMO, even though I did actually, it's not fear of missing out, I did miss out. But it's just like, fuck, I missed actually living that. I want to kind of live that, you know, I'm not just a fan of the band, I just always wish I was part of it.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I would look ridiculous standing next to those guys in a band, because Jeff's navel would be right here.
Oh, no.
And, anyway, so on to the next band. Now this is another band that I almost didn't include because I'm like, oh fuck, dealing with these politics, but then I went, no. This would be possibly the most fun band in history to be in, even though it would be a shit ton of work. Kiss. I had to approach no band politics with this one, and just think of it strictly from the standpoint of doing what they do.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun, but it would be hard.
Drums?
It would have to be drums. Well, I mean, I was going to say it'd have to be drums. I could probably play lead as well as Ace, but because you probably can.
Yeah.
But
you'd be better than Ace. Yeah.
It would probably have to be drums when I just think about my capabilities. I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
that'd be freaking cool.
But it would be fun. I mean, what a fucking crazy fun ride that would be. Now, those guys, for all the grief we give them, they do work hard. Because think about just the makeup alone. I mean, think about putting on the makeup once a year. I know you never do this whenever we do Kiss, but putting on the makeup once a year just for a fucking once a year Kiss show is a chore.
I did it one year.
You did do it one year.
Yeah, I went as the Fox.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Okay, that's right.
I look cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
about that.
Doing it once a year is a chore. Imagine having to do that at least once a day. Because that's the thing. Those guys, not only did they have to do it every day, sometimes more than once. Because you get up and you have to do a TV show. You have to go do you do your makeup. And then, maybe 5 hours later or whatever, you have some other thing where a photo shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're not going to wear the damn outfit all day. You take the makeup off, you go into your photo shoot 5 hours later, and you put the damn makeup on again. Whatever you're doing, you might be doing some activity where it gets smudged and you can't just retouch it. You have to do it again. Then you have the show that night. So those guys have to put that shit on every day, deal with the outfits.
Yeah, the outfits, the platforms, and also considering when they started this shit, the makeup they were using and the cleansing and the everything on their skin, like, I'm amazed they don't look like volcano faces, quite frankly.
Well, those guys,
I mean, they had the best of the best, but still, it was like, that's a lot of fucking work on your skin, cleaning it, and grease paint, and that's a lot, man.
Now think of two things here. Number one, think of the stability this would have added to the original lineup, especially in the latter half of the 70s when they were so fractured and fucking Peter Criss was barely playing on anything. So think of how much better this would have been for them if you were the drummer.
That's the thing, is that the stability of the band depends on you. If I went into that, if I basically just didn't do the Peter Criss bullshit, then I wouldn't have had to worry about leaving the band.
Right.
Because they didn't.
They put up with so much crap from him.
Yeah.
And if you just hadn't done any of that bullshit, you'd fucking be in the band to this day.
Which you wouldn't have, because you wouldn't have been an alcoholic. You would not have been doing drugs. You would not have done anything Peter Criss.
I'd be like, shit, I'm in Kiss.
Or, or forgetting how to play drums and all this shit.
Yeah.
And the other thing to think about here is...
Your solo album would have been
You beat me
better.
to it, you fucker! I was going to say, think of the 1978 Paul Bertolino solo album.
That was the Peter Criss solo album.
Yes, it would have been so much better.
So much better, yeah.
You fucking stole that shit from me, Durant.
My cover of Tossin' and Turn would have been so much better
stellar.
than it is.
It just popped into my head. Yeah. Sorry for reading your mind, Tommy.
Boom.
But, shit, I keep taking off the glasses thinking I know what's coming up next, and I don't. Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm on my last one. Now, this one... Yeah, now this is the one, this is definitely my number one on the list. If I didn't rank these, but I definitely put this as number one, and I have a full explanation here. The Smithereens. Now, let me explain.
Okay.
I get it.
Now, Pat Denizio, who was the front guy, the songwriter, he died, I don't know, 7 or something years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But the Smithereens have continued to be a band, but what they have done is they didn't get, like, a new front guy. They go out as the Smithereens, featuring so-and-so as guest vocalist. Usually it's Marshall Crenshaw. Sometimes it's Robin what's-his-fuck from the candy-coated whatever from the 90s. I forget what it is. But they're not in the band. Mm-hmm. They're, like, guest vocalists for that show. And whoever, has that date open when they book a show is the guy who comes and sings for them. And I've looked at videos of them doing these shows with these guys, and these guys can sing, but it just doesn't work. They don't work in this band. It just doesn't work for me. And I just think, man, I would fucking nail that gig, man. I would nail the fuck out of that gig so hard.
Oh, man.
And I'm thinking, and it's feasible because these are local guys. I know guys who know them. They, you do run, like, you might run into Dennis Dykin at Bowery Electric. I have, they're around. And again, I know people who know them and have worked with them. They're totally accessible. But at the same time, it's not, because the way they do this is not that they just get randos in to fucking sing. They get people with a name.
Right.
I don't have a name, therefore I don't have a shot. But I would kill the fuck out of that gig. That's all I gotta say. So anybody out there who might be watching who has little strings they can pull, I'd kill that fuck out of that gig.
Man, I think that your passion and enthusiasm for it enough is warranting a fucking audition.
Yeah, and I don't, you're not a name, but in New York City, you're name enough.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm not.
No, I think
you're not a name.
You are. You're not a name because, everybody knows you for the Alice Cooper stuff, outside of F-Bomb or whatever, but I mean, that alone, somebody who is doing a perfect Alice Cooper, not that it's like Smithereens at all, but you've got the chops, you have the charisma, you crush it all the fucking time. So if they were like, hey, we just want to try some new people, you take your narrow ass down there and you blow the doors off of it. I mean,
that's the thing. If there was just a way I could just get into a rehearsal space with them and just get up in front of the mic.
I destroy
even
it.
Just do it once. It would be so fun because I tell you.
Because the other thing about the Smithereens is they were a big popular band for a certain amount of time, but I don't think a lot of people really know about the Smithereens or couldn't name, their biggest hit song. So, getting Marshall Crenshaw, whoever this other dude is, they're a name enough to sell more tickets and get more money. But, where are they playing at? Where are they playing at around here?
Well, they used to play at BB King's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have as much. Well, they play a lot in New Jersey and they play out of state a lot. They haven't played in the city as much since Pat's been gone. So I don't really know. Because
even if let's say they were doing a show at City Winery and neither of these guys could show up, and you're like, somebody is sick.
I
and then
mean-
you just run down there and fucking like, yo, I'm doing this.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
all right,
but-
well, you are somebody who has been in the music industry in some form literally for
a long
decades. You were
time.
signed to a major fucking label. You've got a bunch of solo albums of your own. It's a big difference between you and a situation where, like, Boston chose that guy that was a worker at Home Depot. I'm
that's a very
serious.
special,
There's a fucking-
very special situation.
There's a
though, that one.
there's a difference here,
yeah.
man. Like,
If they had an audition,
No, I'm not
yeah.
saying that I'm not qualified. I'm fucking qualified. I just, well, as far as being able to pull off the gig, just, I'm nobody. They don't know who the hell I am. I'm some rando on the internet saying I can
Well,
do that. They don't know that.
Now they know who you are.
You know?
all right, man. That's a good freaking list,
Yeah,
though.
that's a good list.
But so there you go. That's my list. And how long was that?
21 minutes.
Wow. Okay. So maybe we will do commercials.
This
since that's
episode
a-
will have substance, sir.
Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be able to ramble on about these for that long. All right, let's take a break here.
Would you like to swing and play the way the rockin' bands do, with the Tiger guitar and the swinging cat and the polychord electric piano organ and the big bass drum? They're just for you by M&E. Go, Tiger! Go, swinging cat!
The Tiger guitar looks and sounds professional, has its own amplifier. The Swingin' Cat comes with amplifier too.
Now the big bass drum! Go! Polychord electric piano organ.
Play the chords with one finger of the left hand, melody with the right. Two different models.
Now you can swing and play the way the rockin' bands do, with the Tiger guitar and the swinging cat and the polychord electric piano organ and the big bass drum. They're just for you. Jumpin' Jiminy, it's by M&E.
All right, we're back now.
Ah, we're back.
I think we're going to Tommy next, right?
Yeah.
We are. So I've got an honorable mention, and then I've got a top 5.
Okay.
But the top 5 is in order, but like not really in order. You know,
That's fine.
it's ordered-ish.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
don't take it as gospel. But my honorable mention is the Queers.
Oh,
If you think
who
back
you
to,
have played with, right?
No, I never actually played with them. I wanted to be in this band so desperately bad, and they had. And the thing is about this is the most feasible one, because they have had historically like a ridiculous never-ending revolving door lineup, and one of my former bandmates somehow ended up in the goddamn band at one point
I remember
after
you
we
saying
were
that.
no longer in a band
Yeah.
together. So like. I was like just like a couple of steps away
You
from
like
getting
a
the call
degree
myself
there.
at one point, possibly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be in the Queers so bad for so many years when I was like deep into the pop punk thing, and I wanted my band to sound like the Queers. It was just ridiculous, and I no longer want to be in the Queers. I no longer. I mean, I don't know. But there was a point in time where I really did. I really
Yeah.
did, and it could have even been like if I'd have just stuck it out in that scene for just a few more years, I might have actually
been you.
ended up in that band for an album and a tour.
Who knows?
Yeah. So moving on to my actual top 5 in whatever order you want to put them in. Dead or Alive.
Wow.
Oh, yes, that is so you.
Dead
Tommy.
or
Now, what would
Alive.
you want to do?
Fucking
with
Yeah,
A.
so I personally absolutely love singing that stuff. But if we're going to be real, no one can really replace Pete Burns.
No way. You gotta
Dude,
fucking
that
guitar.
is so in your range.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
shit is like
you could completely
so...
do that.
If I thought there was a legit market for it, I would put together a Dead or Alive tribute band as a side project from my main band. I would legitimately do that, and it would be so much fun.
You should do that.
If I don't know for sure if people would come, but this has been something in my mind for a while now.
Try a
You
show
could-
and see.
Yeah, you could do the whole circuit of like The Cure and like all that time period thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have shows where with tribute bands that do
And
like
play
a
on a bill with like a Cure
80s,
tribute
whatever.
and a Depeche
Yeah,
Mode
you
tribute,
could
do a Dead or Alive
totally do
tribute.
that. That would
But if
be-
we're talking actual Dead or Alive, I would not think for a second I could actually replace Pete Burns as far as his presence, his personality. So if it's the actual band, I would want to be on guitar. Or, honestly, even bass. The reality is on the classic albums by that band, The band would, I mean, they were all very capable musicians. They wrote all their shit, unlike anything else that Stock Aitken Waterman produced. Dead or Alive wrote all their own material, and they would come in with fully produced demos with all the synths layered and sequenced and everything, and then the producers would literally just replace all that because reasons and just have Pete sing on it. And that's eventually why the guitarist and the bass player quit, and it was just down to Pete and the drummer, because they felt basically useless. They're like, we're not actually needed if we're just getting replaced on the recordings, so we'll just go and be producers and songwriters for other artists. But you could put me on literally any instrument and I would want to be in Dead or Alive, just for the experience of being in those videos and playing those shows, you know, be on the Live in Japan album and shit. It would be so much fun. Let's see, moving on here.
Well, I'm buying that one.
Yeah,
I got no pushback on that one.
I'm buying that.
Okay, so my next one, tempted to say that I would take Malcolm Young's place in AC/DC.
Wow.
Okay.
But
hey, you know,
Malcolm Young is magic. And if I'm being real, and if we're talking about eras of the band, if we're talking the original era leading into the 80s, I would say I would try out on bass. And as long as I got there before Cliff Williams, I'm sure I would get the job. And I would be the bass player in AC/DC. Right. I can easily do that. If we're talking post-Malcolm, I would say rhythm guitar in AC/DC, replacing who they have. I think Stevie Young, I think one of their relatives.
Stevie Young,
yeah. Who's doing a fucking great job.
So you feel like you could usurp Mark Evans, but not Cliff Williams.
No. I'm just saying, if Cliff Williams had gotten there and tried out first, and they would have hired him, there would be no reason for them to.
I see. I thought you meant like, barring the fact that he nails that shit and I couldn't replace him. I thought that's what you meant.
I could replace him, and that's not a knock against Cliff Williams. Cliff Williams is absolutely the perfect player for that band, but I could do the Cliff Williams thing. Yeah, no problem. I could. Yeah,
you're totally capable of that.
My number 3, and this might surprise you because I was kind of leaping to their defense when you were coming down on the 2 guitar players in this band.
Oh, I already know who that is.
Twisted fucking Sister.
I thought about putting them on my list. I thought about it. Talk about a band that works hard.
Boy, I love JJ French, but I would replace JJ French in a fucking heartbeat, and I'm talking from the inception of the band, meaning I owned the name, founded it in Hohokus, New Jersey in December of 1972, went through all the lineup iterations. I mean, Eddie is a stronger lead player than me, by far. I would just let Eddie take all the fucking, or most of the leads. I would handle most of the rhythms, and I would absolutely be the fucking other guitar player in Twisted Sister replacing JJ French, and which means I would also contribute to the songwriting. It wouldn't be entirely D.
It'd mean you would have to have a huge collection of aviator shades.
Oh boy, would I. But I would fucking pull those motherfuckers off. Let me tell you. And I would be in it to win it until the very end, when it all imploded in 1987, and then I would very quick rush and put out a couple of dance pop albums before all music started to suck.
Under the name Dead or Alive.
I would get in there just at the tail end of the 80s, early 90s, and I'd do my solo album thing before all music turned into shit I don't understand. Yeah. And then I would, of course, then the reunion shows would come around, and I would be,
that's what I call a plan.
Yep. So as you guys can see, what I'm trying to do with my approach here is, could I actually really do it?
Right. Like, well, you're also mapping out a whole sort of life here of an actual history.
Oh, yeah. And in everything that I'm naming, I am certain that musically I could pull it off on the whatever instrument I choose. My number 2, the Ramones.
Ramones.
Abso-fucking-lutely the Ramones. So here's how this would go down, okay? Me helping form the band at the very beginning, back in 1974, and it would be me on guitar with Johnny Ramone. And then eventually I would push him out of the band because he would not be needed if I'm in the band. I got this.
You are, as the kids say, diabolical.
I am diabolical. But let me tell you, this is how this is beneficial to the band, okay? Number 1.
Oh, there's a lot of ways.
A lot of ways. Number 1, I can help significantly with the songwriting so that it wasn't entirely on Joey and Dee Dee's back, okay? Because Johnny only wrote very, very little. Number 2, yes, I would help run the band where Johnny did, but I wouldn't be a fucking piece of shit about it. I wouldn't run it like a dictator. I wouldn't make the rest of the band miserable. I wouldn't be a fucking bully. I wouldn't have caused Tommy Ramone to quit the goddamn band after 3 albums because he couldn't stand to be around Johnny Ramone anymore. I wouldn't have stolen Joey Ramone's girlfriend and then fucking married her and then forced the guy to be in a band with me for the next decade, looking at that every day. I wouldn't have ended up politically like Johnny fucking Ramone. There's a lot of ways I benefit the Ramones.
No one would be calling him Commando.
No, and I'll tell you what, they wouldn't have had the fucking song slump they suffered through in the 80s if my ass was around.
Because you know that you would never have a slump.
Because I wouldn't be putting out shit like they put in the fucking 80s, man.
Because if that's the level you found yourself riding on at, you'd be like, okay, we're not putting this shit out.
We're not putting this out. Okay, I would know. I would be able to recognize, like, okay, all right, we went in a different direction with Phil Spector on the End of the Century. This is great. Okay, we got really poppy with Graham Goldman on fucking Pleasant Dreams. Okay, next album, we're in trouble. We don't have enough good songs. And it just, everything after that is just like, fuck, what's the matter with this band? They're like a caricature. They're like a bad Ramones tribute band at that point. We wouldn't be putting out shit like fucking Worm Man.
Worm Man, yeah. Yeah.
So
we talked about that. We have a Ramones ranking video where we go on and on about the
Yeah. And you don't sniff glue.
No.
Oh,
I don't.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
Carbona, yes, but not glue.
Carbona, not glue.
Yes.
All right, my number one though, and this is I did say I wasn't ranking these, but this I think kind of is my number one, and that is Def Leppard.
Now what would you be doing?
Now, okay, so Def Leppard. Unfortunately, I do not have the chops to actually replace any of the guitar players in Def Leppard. I could maybe see me instead of Pete Willis, maybe. We'd have to lean a little harder on Steve Clark. Pete Willis was also no joke, though. He had his own weird, kind of eccentric style as a solo player. What I would end up having to be the bass player in Def Leppard.
Oh, yeah.
And I would probably say I would want to join at the very beginning and stay on board until just before Slang in the mid-90s. And at that point, I'm out.
Yeah, things do get pretty dire after a while. I could see, like, to where,
Yeah.
Like, you and I have different jumping off points.
But we both agree.
But we have to agree that there comes a point
There's
where
a jumping off point.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is later than yours, but at some point we're both leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as much as I would love to be on guitar on stage in Def Leppard, I am not replacing Phil Collen. I'm not replacing Steve Clark. I'm not replacing Vivian Campbell. Maybe Pete Willis, but then what am I going to prevent Phil Collen from being in the band? I mean, I love that era once Phil joined. So for me, it would be based in Def Leppard, and I feel I could absolutely pull that off. It wouldn't really be a challenge, and it would be musically a fucking dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there would be probably far worse things than being the bassist in Def Leppard in 1984.
Right?
You know.
I can think of a worse fate in life.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't suck.
Probably didn't suck too bad, no.
That wouldn't be too bad.
So that's my list.
All right.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah, should we go to a commercial? Or?
I don't even know what these commercials are going to be about, but let's find out.
You get 15 guns in a chiclets packet, 15 chiclets in a candy jacket. You get a lot of flavor, you can tell, cause the flavor's in the gum and in the candy shell. You get 15 gums in a chiclets packet, flavors in the gum and in the candy jacket. Flavors in the gum and in the candy jacket. Flavors in the gum.
All right.
That's funny.
Well, Crystal,
Hi.
I bet you have a list.
I do have a list. And I am going to preface this by saying that I guess the default for me would be a singer in these bands, but some not. And if I had kept playing guitar and if I had kept playing bass, then I could possibly replace a guitar player or bassist, maybe. It
But
depends.
again, you know, this can all be fantasy land, so it doesn't really
so it's
matter.
Fantasyland. So here's my runners-up. Count Basie's big band, Louis Prima and Keely Smith's band, The White Stripes, Vanity Six, Kraftwerk, Barry White, Phil Spector, Little Richard, Anything Motown, Elvis Costello and the Attractions, and the Beatles. Those are my runners-up.
Wow.
Okay. So my Lith, the first band, the first band would be The Revolution.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And
I feel like you need to make an exaggerated jazz, like The Revolution.
The Revolution.
no, I was thinking about the guy with the eye makeup in the movie. Ladies and gentlemen, The Revolution.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I haven't seen that movie in so long. I
Yeah.
forgot about that guy.
With the long hair, yeah. So it'd be The Revolution. And hello, why would I not want to be in that fucking band? Come on, yo.
I could probably think
You know-
of a couple reasons.
Well, there are many reasons why you wouldn't, but if you were like absolutely fucking at the top 1% of your game, you would be having the time of your life.
Life in that band.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, fuck.
Yes.
What the fuck?
But you could not slip.
Yeah.
No,
If you,
because
if you slipped on your game, you'd
well,
be
first,
out.
well, then let me back it up and say James Brown's band.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then the
it's the
Revolution.
same shit.
Oh my god, that's even worse.
Yeah, but I'd have the chops like reincarnated and come back in Prince's
Well,
Right.
you do James Brown first, and then after
Yeah.
you've been through that, you
can
can
do
You
anything.
can easily
You could
be
deal
in
with
Prince's
Prince after
band.
that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Prince wasn't fining people on
Well, on
stage.
You know, I'd be standing next to Bootsy Collins. We both got to pay $50. Whatever.
Yep.
Okay, my second fantasy band would be Sly and the Family Stone.
I knew you were gonna say that shit. I fucking knew
did.
it.
I want to be in Sly and the Family Slow.
Now, would you want to be in every incarnation of Sly and the Family, including the ones that he didn't show up for?
No,
Probably be easier to be in the ones he didn't
it didn't show up
for.
for, but no, I'd want to be from the beginning until
Fresh.
yeah, fresh. That's where I'd be out. Yeah.
What was there was a comic, I think it might have even been Chris Rock. It was somebody talking about, like, I went to see Sly and the Family Stone 10 times in the 70s. Sly didn't show up 8 of those times. Like, shit.
Yeah.
One of those times he got married on stage.
Stage. That's right. Yeah. My next band would be The Who,
Of course, yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
and
Now, what would you do in the Who?
I
I mean, I can't even answer that myself. I didn't even go there when I mentioned them. What would one do in the Who? Who
Well,
do
you would
replace
be
in
the
that
second
band?
guitar player. That's what you would do.
I don't know.
yeah. Well, who I would want to be would be singing. I'd want to take Roger Daltrey's place.
Watch your back there, Roger.
Watch your back.
Uh-oh, she's coming for you.
And like I told you guys a story about when I met him and I got to sing with him for a little bit, and he was like, "Oh yeah, bloody hell!" Now, probably being very nice, but you know, I turned it on in front of him. Yeah, I'd want to be Roger Daltrey in the Who.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
I'd want to be
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
I agree.
and then you know, during those 3 years off, I'd make Ride a Rock Horse.
One
No,
of
I
the
wouldn't.
boys.
Yeah. Then next I have my fourth one. I have Stevie Wonder. I want to be in his band.
his band.
I'd play a triangle in his band. I'd do
You know?
anything in his band. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I will
Yeah.
sing, stand next to Sarita. I'll do backing vocals. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
If we're talking 70s, then yeah.
Yes.
Now,
yeah.
that's another one, though, where Stevie's band, nobody
No.
in that band was half-stepping at all.
No.
No, but also Stevie though wasn't like this treacherous motherfucker where like
No.
if you know, blinked wrong, he'd fucking you're out. You know.
No, he wasn't that kind of
Well,
person.
first of all,
but
he wouldn't be able to see you.
Right.
Wrong.
yeah.
But
if you breathed wrong, yeah.
if you breathe wrong,
Okay, if you breathe too loud.
loud,
Yeah.
and then that's a problem. But
that is true, but he still had a fucking shit-hot band.
yeah.
Yeah.
And all the people who went on to have amazing solo careers and stuff like that, a lot of people still don't know because they don't read liner notes to see who was in those bands. You know, Songs in the Key of Life, whatever. The whole song cycle. I would stop. What is it like?
Hotter Than July.
Yeah, I would stop at Higher Than July because I'm not going to be a part of.
No Woman in Red.
No Woman in Red or In Square
In Square
Circle
Circle.
or any of that shit. Fuck that. And no Jungle Fever either. Fuck that. And then my last band would be The Pretenders. And had I continued to play guitar, I would be Chrissy Hind. Because I think I would have been better at rhythm than lead.
Well, if you're going to be in that band, you're going to want to be Chrissy Hind because if you're anybody else, you're not going to be in that band for long.
For long, I'd be dead.
So
That's true, except for Martin Chambers,
True.
who was like a cockroach.
yeah, well, even he's out half the time these days.
Yeah, that's true, but it's because he's 90 years old.
Yeah, that's probably by his own choice. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not kicking him out.
Yeah. Yeah, he got tired. He's like, I've done this really hard for a long fucking
Yeah.
time and I need a break. Yeah. That's who I'd be. I'd be Chrissie Hynde completely. Except I wouldn't. I don't think I would have an affair with Ray Davies. Would I? No, I can't stand him. Yeah.
Even for one night?
I don't know.
Could you put up with him that long? I don't know how intolerable the guy is. I've heard stories.
I don't know, man. I mean, at that time period when she was fucking around with him, maybe, but I don't know. I don't think I could have sex with him.
Yeah, no, he's.
I don't like his face.
No, he's rough. He's that guy. He's not. Those guys were like basically both those guys were a mess, and they were at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No fun.
In fact, they were going to get married, and they decided one day they were getting married, and they went to actually go to just do it, and they fought the whole fucking way there. And when they got there, the only reason they didn't end up married is because the people there refused to marry them because they saw that they were just like at each other's throats at their wedding.
My God.
Yeah.
So they were going to do it on a whim.
And the justice of the peace was like, bloody
hell
no,
we're not doing
No,
this.
this marriage isn't going to last.
Yeah.
You can go find somebody else to do this. We're not doing it.
Wow.
We're annulling it right now, and it didn't even happen. That's
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah, but I would love to have been her. Yeah, just like Chrissie Hynde. That's my list.
Okay. Oh, that's a good list.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Let's have ourselves a break.
Casio presents an unfair competition. This Casio MP520 versus a full set of drums. Snare, rim shot, bass, cymbals, bongos. Casio has it all. So now the unfair part. It's 8-note polyphonic with a recording memory and a dozen presets. Casio keyboards, they're the ones to beat.
All right, we're back.
Yeah.
And now we are going to discuss the bands that we would not be in, no matter what.
No, thank you.
And I'm back to my list here. Okay, now I have an equal 5. I found the wouldn't want to be in list way easier to make for reasons I actually already mentioned. Because every time I would think of a band, all I would think about were the reasons why I wouldn't want to deal with these motherfuckers. You know. So first up, I have Kiss, which I already mentioned. Yeah, so I mean, I would love to be in Kiss. Wouldn't fucking want to be in Kiss.
My
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't need to go into any details about that. That's all understood. Next up, I have Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, yeah.
Musically speaking, I would kill to be in that band. But talk about a situation I would not want to walk into at any point
in time.
No. And I'm even I mean, honestly, even before the Buckingham Nick, like that whole ride of those guys is just like one. You have Peter Green, going off his nut, and then you have another guy who went off and joined some weird religion, like that he left like mid-tour and walked off and like he never came back. It was just one event after another.
Hot mess.
And another lineup breaking up because one guy was fucking another guy's wife, and which predated when Buckingham and Nicks came in, and then that really became a thing.
Oh, so he did it before it was cool.
before it became cool in 1976. But
and they had orgies and
everyone, it's like every one of those. Yeah, like that, like
gross.
Buckingham and McVie fucked. Like they
Of course they did.
You know,
of course they did.
Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks absolutely.
That's confirmed.
They absolutely did.
Yes.
I mean, I think John McVie is probably like the only guy who didn't get to go through that whole
the rotation.
Like he had Christine, and then he kind of fucked off and like sailed.
Yeah.
Went onto a sailboat and smoked a cigarette while the rest of them fucked.
Oh my gosh.
Poor John.
But coming up next, I have The Revolution, or any of Prince's bands, for that matter. Because, one, I just couldn't stand the stress of having to be at that level 100% of the time. I guess, like I said before, if you actually were in your top 1% of what you did, then it would probably be a blast. But I would not want to be able to... Well, there's no job security being in Prince's situation at all.
No.
So it would be stress in that regard. Even if you're not stressed about the music and how well you're performing, You have that shit in your sleep. You're still stressed about, do I have a job tomorrow? You know, I wouldn't want to be involved in that.
That'd be too nerve-wracking. I mean, I know I could never be in any of Prince's bands.
No.
I mean, I even at the top of my game, I still make mistakes on songs I fucking write. So
I mean, it might be a different situation if you were, say, like, okay, we're going to bring you in, we're just doing the Sign of the Times tour. You know you're just doing that tour, and you know you're out at the end of it.
Right.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like Sheila E.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Sheila
you're
had
on the
her own
album,
shit,
and
so
she
she
had her
wasn't
own
counting
shit.
on being in.
Yeah.
Prince's
I don't have the
band, so she
musical
came in as
vocabulary
she
to be in his band, though, as far as what he would demand as far as diversity on your instrument. I don't have that to be in Prince's band. No.
No. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like I obviously could not ever be in a Prince band of any sort on any level. I probably couldn't play triangle in his band because the excellence you would have to have on the triangle would be above my level.
Oh, you could do that.
So, but next up, oh man, Ozzy's band.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You already know you already know why.
My fucking God.
I just got to
Because then I would go in there and I'd be forced to write all the songs. I would get none of the publishing,
Nope, you'd
and I would be
lucky
thrown out on my ass.
You'd be lucky they even credit you on the album.
They're
for
probably
writing
not
them.
credited. Yeah, just any situation basically that involved Sharon Osbourne, I would say, no thank you.
The degree to which Sharon and Ozzy fucked over his musical collaborators.
Yes, Ozzy's not innocent here.
No.
Terrible.
Sharon, I didn't want Sharon to do that. So why'd you fucking let her?
Yeah, you didn't have
You're
to.
the artist.
You could have stopped it.
He doesn't have to let her do that shit. But so
wife,
Ozzy, that's
life.
obvious. Sorry?
Happy wife, happy life.
Oh, fuck.
He was trying to keep it together at home.
Whatever. But yeah, well, let me ask you this. Is that woman ever happy?
No.
Yeah,
No.
so.
But neither is he, so.
Yeah, that's true. But definitely the top of my list, the band I would definitely not want to be in under any circumstances. No way. There's a whole, oh my God, no. And I think this band is absolutely great. Musically speaking, I would fucking love to be in the band. But other than that, let's just put it this way. I wouldn't be here talking to you right now had I been in this band. Badfinger!
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Badfinger. Now that is a band I would not, because, well, I'm not saying that I would have hung myself had I been in the band, but like the shit that those guys went through.
It's horrible.
A lot.
The horrible shit that those guys endured, like that whole tortured history of that band.
Man, I can't
you
even
you
laugh.
do not want to be in that.
No.
Yeah.
If you guys out there don't know about the history of Badfinger, it is really heartbreaking
Just
shit.
watch the
Awful.
Behind the Music episode. VH1 did a
awful.
Behind the Music
Yeah.
episode on them. Watch that. For
Two
starters.
of the members of the band hung themselves, and the thing about this is that the situation they were in was so bad, not just that one guy hung himself, but then another guy in the band who saw this happen. He wasn't there present when he hung himself, but he was there close to the situation, seeing the awfulness of this, still chose to do the same shit.
thing.
8 years later.
Yeah.
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 And one of them, I forget which one of them specifically named the band's manager in his suicide note and basically blamed him for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Horrible.
so. I know this takes it to a serious place, but talk about a band situation I would not want to be in.
But no, dude, it counts and it's got to be said. I mean, you can't just say Badfinger because it was drama. It's like, no.
No.
You don't even
This
know.
isn't Kiss drama.
No.
This is, you'd be wishing you were in Kiss.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be wishing you were in, Revolution.
damn,
Or
dude,
you'd
that's
be
a-
wishing you were working for Sharon Osbourne.
That is a good pick, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. All right.
So over to me.
Yeah, over to you.
All right, I wrote stuff out for my worst ofs, or the ones I don't want to be in, and I'm just going to read them off so I don't miss any points here. But I have three bands I wouldn't want to be in for any amount of money, and for valid reasons. Number three, basically, is Journey. Journey.
Interesting. Well, especially now.
I've never had the experience of getting sued, especially not by my bandmates, and I'd rather not experience it, thanks. Also, really not feeling like I'd want to be in the same room as Jonathan Cain, let alone the same band with him and his fucking wife, Paula White, or whatever the fuck her name is.
Well, let me ask you this: How would you feel about being in that pre-Jonathan Cain?
Yeah.
Like Steve Perry's in, but Jonathan Cain isn't in yet.
That would have to be the cutoff then.
Yeah, because Neil Sean's kind of, out of his mind now, but I don't think he was then. I think he would have been easier to work with at that time.
I don't know. The thing is, they originally had a second guitar player, George Tickner, and he was only on the first album, and then he was out. So I think that Neil just didn't, either that guy just didn't want to be around, it wasn't feeling the music, or Neil was just like, no, only one guitar player. So I don't know. I don't really know the whole story with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, so much of the history of that band is post that. The majority of the band is not that small window of time.
Yeah.
So, my number 2, Rainbow. I love Rainbow. I love the Dio era. I love the Graham Bonnet era. I love the Joe Lynn Turner era. I would never, ever want to be in this band because I would be at risk of being fired at a moment's notice. Whenever Richie Blackmore got a wild hair up his ass, I would literally never feel safe. And this was not a situation where, like, oh, I'm not playing in the top 1% of musicians in the world, so Prince is going to now just take my instrument away and do it himself while playing his instrument too.
At the same time.
Yeah, it's not one of those. It was like Richie Blackmore would just fire people just because.
Yeah,
like
I don't like your tie.
Yeah, the people that he would fire from the band. It's like, how did you fire that person? Why would you fire that person?
Yeah.
But my number 1, and this is definitely ranked. This is definitely number 1 band I would not want to be in. The Misfits.
Oh, God.
And I have a lot to say here. So I wrote, on the one hand, this would be easy as shit, and good lord, the songs are fun. I could easily have been the guitarist instead of Bobby Steele, or especially instead of Doyle, and it would have to be from the beginning. Be there for the entire golden era. So this seems like an obvious yes, but as I saw someone post recently online, this band is awesome, but every single person that's ever been in it has been certifiably clown shoes. Glenn Danzig seems like he'd be a lot to deal with, and then he shut the whole thing down in '83. So what then? Does he take me with him to Sam Hain and then Danzig? Or do I end up in Christ the fucking Conqueror with Doyle and Jerry as a studio-only project that was their Christian barbarian metal band that they had in the 80s?
Well, maybe you just go join the Queers.
Right? And then I joined the Queers at that point. Or do I end up in the rebooted Misfits in the 90s after everything came back together? They put out one killer record, one mediocre record before the wheels fell off. People walking off stage, everybody suing everyone. The singer ended up in the fucking Proud Boys. And now they have the reunion shows with Doyle in small print on the posters and a second guitarist on stage playing most of the actual guitar parts. What a sad mess.
Who's in the Proud Boys?
In the actual Proud Boys?
Oh, yeah. Michael Graves. Yeah, he's real bad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
That's not like some ironic punk band.
No. Like, yeah, he's a problem. Yeah, he's a fucking problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and like and now the reunion show posters are like, the original Misfits, Jerry Only, Glenn Danzig, featuring Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein. Now Doyle is Jerry Only's fucking little brother. And he gets right, but he's just running around on stage beating the living bejesus out of his guitar, making a bunch of squealing noise. And they got AC Slade standing in front of the wall of amps playing all the actual fucking guitar parts for the most part. This band is a goddamn chaotic fucking circus. Like at any point I would be in this band, I would be like, I don't know, this doesn't feel like a healthy situation, man.
I gotta tell you, one time, I don't know how the algorithm took me there, but I wound up on Doyle's Instagram.
Oh, he's a...
Like, what the fuck?
I don't know what the deal is with that dude.
It's so weird.
He is a strange person.
Like, I guess you've been soaking in it for 45 years, so this is just who you are now? It was just so weird.
Misfits fans, as far as punk bands go, Misfits fans are like Kiss fans.
I know.
Yeah, they can
so you're definitely soaking in it, I'm sure, if you're in that situation.
Yeah. It's a whole weird fucking vibe. And
the best thing about them is the logo. I love the logo.
Oh, the Crimson Ghost logo?
Yeah.
They stole that from a movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, in the 40s, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, you'd want to be in the classic lineup, the golden era from 77 to 83. And then when it fractures, where do you end up? Do you end up going with Jerry and Doyle doing fuck knows what for a decade? Or do you go with Glenn Danzig?
80s dance pop record.
Well, then I put out a dance pop record. Yeah. At that point, then I joined Dead or Alive.
Yeah. It all works out.
There's definitely a plan for you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting.
So, so that's my list.
All right, so bands that I do not want to be in. Oy. All right, so my runners-up list is pretty much any popular 90s pop band.
Oh.
Oasis, Nickelback.
Oh.
You know, did it all for the Nookie.
Oh, God.
Any of those things.
You don't want to be in Limp Bizkit?
I would not want to be in any of that. Ike and Tina Turner, that's another no boy.
Ooh.
That could be a little rough.
Yeah.
Literally.
So, for the official no's, The Revolution, tied with Fleetwood Mac. Because the Fleetwood Mac thing was obvious with all of them fucking each other. It was not out there on the street obvious with Prince and all the women in that band. And, you know, like, he's calling you at 3:30 in the morning, you just went to bed.
Yeah.
After playing a show,
I have an idea.
and then an
We need to
after show,
record.
and you got to get down here to the studio right now.
Right now.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Because that motherfucker didn't sleep.
No.
He actually had Paisley Park was wired up so that there were pass-throughs, XLR
Yes.
pass-throughs in the fucking bathrooms. In case he was in the bathroom and felt inspired, they can fucking run a mic in there,
Yep,
run it up.
and
I
do it.
swear to God.
Yeah,
Yep.
and do it. Then I got Sly and the Family Stone.
Which was on your You Want to Be In list.
As was The Revolution.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We all know why.
But I understand.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing with a lot of these bands. You do and you don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then I got Badfinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Badfinger.
Yeah.
Terrible. And and then I guess this could be on my runners-up list too.
You guess what?
On my runners-up list, I forgot to talk about a tie between the Plasmatics and the Ramones
For not wanting to be in?
for not wanting to be in. Could you imagine the Plasmatics?
I don't know. I don't know that they were that dysfunctional internally. Everything I've heard about Wendy O. Williams is that she was actually a really nice person.
No, but just the whole tornado around it.
Oh, all the controversy and
All the
shit,
controversy.
yeah.
Like when she was on, was it Phil Donahue or what TV show was it? And she was just sitting there. Oh, Morton Downey Jr. Maybe one of those
good
shows
Lord.
where they had punk rockers who came in and talked about being a punk rocker, and it was these suburban kids with Kool-Aid in their hair, and or no, it was an interview with Joan Rivers. That's what it was.
Oh, it was Joan Rivers.
had her
You're
show.
right.
Yeah, it was a Joan Rivers
Right.
show, and she was. Like super nice, and Joan's like, okay, so tell me about that, and she's like, well, this is just what I do, and people just treat me unfairly because they think that I'm stupid, and blah, 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 and she really, bared her heart, it was very interesting, but to be in that tornado of that band, you got this white chick with electrical tape over her nipples, chainsawing tractor trailers. They got a black drummer who got shit all the time. And then it was like, this is terrible noise, blah, 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 blah. But they had a really great following. But I just would not want to be in that tornado of crazy.
Understood.
You know, and the Ramones, basically what you said. And then on top of all that, the grind of playing 800 shows a year. They never stopped. They never, ever stopped.
Well,
it seemed like they would take a month off.
I think the Ramones spent the entire run as being a band touring in a van.
But,
I don't think they ever switched to a bus that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it was just what the fuck? Because, like I've said before, see them in D.C., see them in Philly, see them in New York, see them in Connecticut, see them in New Jersey, this is our Northeast Corridor tour. And they would play 3, 4, 5 nights at every place. That's some fucking taxing shit.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of those bands, to a certain extent, the Ramones, but probably a lot for Plasmatics, they weren't ever playing really great high-level shows.
No.
It was kind of a grind the whole time.
Yes,
because they're
never
playing
stopped.
at shitty venues, and it's oh god, they're playing at CBGB's, which is the Cadillac venue on this one tour.
Right.
They're playing someplace decent in Philly. It's just. Yeah,
I remember there was a quote from Johnny Ramone, asshole, and he was saying something to the effect of, they were asking him about how they never broke big and they were always kind of playing all these underground, these smaller venues, and were always kind of like a cult band and touring around in the band. And he said something to the effect of when Sedated came out, and that didn't become a #1 hit single. he says he knew at that point it was never going to happen for them, and that they were always just going to be at the level they were, and that was just
it. Yeah, which
had to kind of be rough.
Yeah.
To feel that way.
Well, it's at that point too. You kind of decide, okay, how important is this to me? Do I still just love doing this anyway? And obviously they did,
And there are people who just love you so much.
Yeah.
That you don't kind of want to disappoint them on some level, I think.
Well, I don't think Johnny gave a shit about that. But
well, not him, but...
No.
Yeah.
Joey might have, but...
That'd be rough. That'd be very rough. Yeah, Johnny didn't care. Joey definitely, I think.
Yeah.
But
well.
It was rough, man. No thanks.
Oh, you know what? Before we move on, I thought of one that I think I'm going to just go ahead and say it, and I think it's for all of us. That none of us would want to be in this band.
Okay.
Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkies. And on to commercial.
You are correct, sir. You are correct, sir.
Yeah, you are correct, sir.
Ooh, I feel a little rock and roll coming on. The lightning ride was ablaze with thunder. Come on, baby, I got your number. Guitar.
Okay, all right. Well, we are back and we are getting out. All right, and thanks for watching this stuff, and thanks for subscribing if you have. But if you haven't, maybe possibly subscribing if you do. Click the little bell because of notifications, and come back next week when we do something that we don't at this very moment know what it is because we don't have that figured out.
We don't have it yet.
But it's this. Yeah. As I'm editing, I already know what it is, so now you know. So let us know what it is in the comments,
yeah.
all right? All right, we will see you then.
Bye. I did runners up.
I know.
Okay.
I know. You remember we had this text earlier.
Yeah.
I was texting and I said that I didn't have enough, and she said I have too many, and I said surprise. Crystal, I said please don't mention every band you've ever liked, and she said why would I do that?
With praying hands, he put on there.
Yeah, I said please, Crystal, don't mention every band you ever liked.
Gotcha.
No, fuckers.
Well, and she said why would I do that? And I didn't text back, but I was going to say, for the answer to that question, please go review our Albums of the Year series.
And then I said, "Well, let's save it for the people."
Well, no, because we don't want to have that on the episode. But I mean, or we don't not want to. I don't know. Whatever. I wasn't planning on that being part of the episode.
No, I said because it's different than just liking the music compared to thinking about being in a band with these people.
It is. Well, it is. That's for sure.
Super
it's
different.
way different. Mm-hmm. It is way different.
I mean, I would have loved to have been in, ABC, but Martin Fry's an asshole. No thanks. Would I want to be in The Cure? Sure, but Robert Smith is too moody. Yeah.
Well, All right.
We are rolling.
2, 1.
Well,
all right!